Yesterday evening, the government of India sealed the fate of TikTok along with 58 other apps of Chinese origin. These are applications which are prominently featured in Android mobile phones, especially the likes of Xiaomi, Vivo, Oppo, OnePlus. But the one app which is making the news is TikTok. TikTok has had 2 billion downloads globally. It's one of those apps one cannot easily ignore, even if one is very apprehensive of the content that's published on it. It has 120 million users in India, all of them active. The lifetime downloads in India are somewhere in the neighborhood of 600 million, and the total lifetime downloads across the world are around 2 billion. In terms of consumption, in terms of the time spent on the app in the US, the United Kingdom, and even Spain, the time spent on TikTok is more than that spent on YouTube. In India, TikTok was just getting started. They had a revenue of around rupees 25 crore in the 2019 financial year. And this year, they were aiming to increase their revenue 4 times to rupees 100 crores. But just then, the party has stopped for them. Given India just has 600 to 700 internet users right now, 600 to 700 million internet users right now, one would have expected TikTok to register exponential growth in the years to come, probably in the next 2-3 years, as social networking became more prominent with the lockdown, with the cheaper internet that's available. A lot also has to do with the geo revolution. Before 2016, the average time spent on video was in the neighborhood of 2 minutes. Today, it's more than 50 per day. And therefore, the likes of TikTok was looking to benefit from this. And now the government has banned this. Now, one can say that this is a low-hanging fruit plucked by the Indian government given what happened in Ladakh. But is it really so? Of course, it's not going to impact any Indian manufacturing industry, as the delay in imports on the pharmaceutical APIs or automobile parts is already doing. It's not going to impact any manufacturing or software industry. It's not going to impact the startups. It's not probably going to have that big a dent on the employment prospects also. But is it just another low-hanging fruit? Is it a meek answer by the Narendra Modi government to what happened in Ladakh? Let's explore that one by one. The first aspect we need to consider is that of security. Now, if an app has 120 million users in India, which is almost 10% of our population, security is an important factor to be considered. Now, for instance, the US Armed Forces, they have forbidden the use of TikTok on their premises anywhere in the world, citing the issues of cybersecurity. Israeli cybersecurity company Checkpoint has investigated thoroughly into TikTok and concluded that it has backdoor issues. The US government is also investigating it from a civilian point of view. Reddit CEO himself called the application a parasitic kind in nature, which dwells on the user data. Now, to just give you an overview of what TikTok uses, as a lot of people have put on Twitter, it uses the hardware data on your phone, it uses the network data, it uses the details about apps on your phone, and it uses your location. So it's not just about profiling you. If you are a very constant user of TikTok, chances are it might even actually end up profiling your friends, if by the very clever use of data. Lastly, even Apple has claimed that TikTok has certain backdoor channels and capture mechanisms by which it is stealing user data. So the very first point, not just of TikTok, but also of the 58 other apps, is the digital sovereignty. In the world of ruled by internet, in the world where globalization is powered by internet, one would expect digital sovereignty to be very, very important. Unfortunately, India for the last 10 years has been moving very slowly on this front. The developments have been rather very slow. The data protection bill, the data privacy bill, they all have not taken the shape they were supposed to. Against what are we seeing in Europe in the form of GDPR, that is the General Data Protection Regulation. So the first factors of digital security is sovereignty. After what happened against China in Ladakh, can we really afford a system where 59 apps, and these are just 59 apps to begin with, there will be the PUBGs, which also will be questioned right now, the Zoom apps and all of that, they will also be in question now. But to begin with, can we leave the data of 120 million Indians, which would have further expanded to say 200, 250, 300, we would never know what the upper limit is. Can we leave them in the hands of the Chinese? We really can't. Now, that's the first problem with TikTok and those 59 other apps. Now, let's come down to TikTok alone, which is making news because of its user count. The second problem with TikTok was that of the content, its regulation, and its censorship. Now, earlier this year, if we talk about censorship first, earlier this year, we had a report by Vion News that China's government or some state backing of China had ensured that the content which was anti-China and was uploaded on TikTok would have to be deleted. There were mails which were released in the public domain. So already China was trying to push for a very pro-China agenda through apps like TikTok. Now that is the one problem, that pushing a very Chinese form of agenda. The second problem, however, was of the regulation. Now, we have had multiple instances where anti India content has been uploaded. Now, how do you define anti India? Because it's a very subjective definition. Now, the first thing is, if we go back a year and a half, there was a group of young boys calling themselves Team 07. They uploaded a video where they criticized the death of a young Muslim boy and said that if his son grows up to become a terrorist, he shouldn't be blamed. Now, that video received a lot of views. The collective following of those boys were more than 50 million, and this is 1.5 years ago. Today, it has 120 million users, and 1.5 years ago, these 5-7 boys, they had a collective following of more than 50 million. Now, they uploaded a video which was very provocative in nature, and these were just one of those examples. Unfortunately, their video made news. Unfortunately, TikTok did nothing to regulate such content. Very recently, we had a video which somehow encouraged the idea of acid attack for a dispirited lover, for a love affair gone wrong. These were the kind of content that was coming in. But it's not just about juvenile, immature content that was uploading on the platform. It's also about the fake news that was going on the platform. It was also about the anti-India agenda, the separatist agenda, the Khalistani-like agenda, the communal agenda that was very prevalent on TikTok. That was the problem with TikTok. Now, if we go back and talk about the third factor, the third very important factor is coming from China itself, that is the Great Firewall of China. Now, in 1994, when China had the first taste of the World Wide Web, the web was fairly open over there. But in 2000, it was the introduction of the Golden Shield project, which actually facilitated the creation of a great firewall around China. Now, today, if you were to visit China for whatever reason, you won't be able to access Google, Facebook, Twitter, WhatsApp, Bloomberg, Wall Street Journal, or even Swarajya. For we are even blocked in the country. So for China, it makes sense to create a great firewall along their 1.4 billion internet users. It makes sense for them to create a firewall of which websites those 1.4 billion Chinese can visit or not. But it suddenly does not make sense for a country like India to ban TikTok. So that is the hypocrisy which is very prevalent when it comes to the digital diplomacy with China. The Great Firewall actually doesn't restrict a few websites which might have a very anti-China stance, which might criticize China's way of handling things, be it the coronavirus outbreak, be it the economy, be it the infrastructure, be it the lack of human rights. It's not just about that. It's about creating a Chinese version of the internet. Now, already they have one in China. It has blocked around 10,000 websites, some of them being the most prominent ones. What they've also done is encouraged homegrown apps. The likes of Alibaba, the likes of Tencent, ByteDance which owns TikTok. They've all created their own social networking platforms, and all of them have members in excess of 1 billion. WeChat, which is the first super app of the world, something which Geo might become in the future in collaboration with Facebook and WhatsApp, it has more than 1.1 billion users. So China is not only restricting other apps, it's not only restricting foreign apps, it's also pushing its homegrown apps. TikTok was one such example. TikTok was one such example of the Chinese agenda being shoved down countries, across countries. And that has stopped thanks to the government of India. Now, there are some questions that critics might ask. One of them being that, oh, what does banning TikTok really warrant? What does it really achieve? Because it's just an app at the end of the day. Precisely, it's just an app, but it's an app which is being used by 120 million users. It's an app which was stealing user data. It was an app which was stealing the location of the users and could have misused against them. It's also about sending a clear message that if China doesn't improve, it doesn't improve its conduct when it comes to the line of actual control, when it comes to diplomacy, Indians would be forced to take some hard steps. And even though it's a low-hanging fruit, it's a very, very important one. This signals intent from the Indian government. Now, some of the critics even went far ahead and said that the TikTok, they had facilitated a donation of rupees 30 crores, somewhere in the neighborhood of rupees 30 crores to the PM Cares Fund for the coronavirus outbreak. Well, it was a donation, it wasn't a bribe. So saying that the donation should be returned because now TikTok has been banned makes no sense. At the end, TikTok was doing what it wanted to do as a company operating in India, and it did so. Now, doesn't make the government obligated to allow it to run even with all its faults. TikTok has been quick, and just this morning it came out with a statement that it won't share its data with the Chinese government. Now, this statement is hilarious or laughable for many reasons. One, are they trying to indirectly convey that until now they were sharing data with the Chinese government? Or are they indirectly saying that apart from TikTok, the 58 other apps which are not receiving the same kind of attention, they are sharing the data with the Chinese government? Whatever the reason might be, the banning of TikTok is an important step by the government of India. And one can only hope that this will result in an array of homegrown apps from India itself. Already we have Chingari and Mitro, which are replicas of TikTok, but at least they are homegrown. The data is safe. The people can upload their videos over there, as immature as they might be, as juvenile as they might be, but instead people can be promised of better regulation, of better content censorship rules, and being sure that their data won't be misused against them by a country which is now almost our enemy. Thank you.